The unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 myriad kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, we can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. Thank you for that beautiful ceremony and all your kind offerings. It's really quite something to be part of that. And it's one of, it's a really profound and beautiful ceremony. Just this giving and receiving. It's just so lovely. Can't really express how grateful we all are for your kindness, your offerings, and your presence, and your training, and everything. It's just really, it really kind of brings it home. And we're all giving and receiving. Everybody's giving, everybody's receiving. You all, pass it back and forth. Everything is from everybody to everybody, if you see what I mean. It's not one person to one person. It's everybody to everybody. And we all partake of the merit because all of you pass it on. You receive it, pass it on. Like with everything. We receive, we pass it on. One of our monks had a dream not long ago. She told me about it. She was at an aquarium, the sort of aquarium where you look out at the sea. You're in this place. I never seen one of these, but you look out and the sea is out there. And she realized that this was the waveless sea, the sea of Buddha nature. And then she thought, oh, but I'm behind glass, I can't get to it. And then she realized that the glass wall was permeable and she could swim out into that waveless sea. Lovely. I was thinking of this. Most of us feel that we're kind of behind glass, especially when you think about Buddha nature. Even opaque glass, we can't even see it, never mind, swim in it. And we feel separate from our true nature, from Buddha nature, however we would like to see it, the waveless sea. What is it? Our true nature, what's that? Where is it? How do I find it? How do I get there? Show me the way. And not only that, we feel separate from other people, other beings. It's like we're each in our own little fish tank, glass all round, in my little tank. And there's other people in their little tanks. And we see them, and we can have deeply, very close relationships with people. But we don't know what it's like to be another person, actually. We don't know what it's like to be them, no matter how close we may be to somebody. We can't be them. We can't completely feel their feelings. So in a sense, we're all in our little tank. Living in this world, it's hard not to feel separate from other people. There are so many of us. And we put up barriers to keep people out, because otherwise we couldn't deal with it. There's too many of us. To keep some little space for ourselves, to feel safe, we put up these walls, these glass walls, like we're in our little tank, And it's ironic that the more of us there are, the more separate we become from other people. Quite often, people in cities, crowded together, but they can feel much more isolated sometimes than people living out in the country. I think in Mount Shasta we've got this really friendly community, but in, the city is not like that. It's different. Although people have their friends, there's a lot of really lonely people living in cities. And you can understand why, because if you're crowded together, if you can't have physical space around, you create cultural space, some way of kind of keeping things at bay a bit, boundaries. If we're in a confined space with people, like we're in an aeroplane or an elevator or a subway, you kind of ignore each other, sort of stand there like this or sit there like this, like I'm by myself, there's nobody here, Just to have some kind of a buffer. We don't kind of leap on the person we're sitting next to and pour out our hearts to them generally. It happens, but not very often. We're all in our own little fish tank. And a great many people, as I said, are really lonely because of this, They live on their own, maybe, Even if they're with other people, there's a kind of isolation people have. However, even fish are not separate from the rest of the world. They need people. They're dependent on people for food and oxygen and clean water and all this. If you've ever had fish, you know that actually there's a lot of work in taking care of these little fish, keeping them healthy and alive. It's not like they're all alone and isolated from everybody else. They need other beings. And fish don't like to be alone. They get frightened and stressed if they're on their own. They need to be with other fish to feel at ease. Well, we're quite a lot like fish. Most of us actually don't like to be completely alone for any length of time. A little bit is nice, but for a whole lifetime, I don't think so, We're social beings, social animals, really. We like to be with other people, generally. Even if we're in little fish tanks, we like to be with other fish tanks. And, of course, we're completely dependent on other people, like the fish. We can't cope on our own. We need, our food, our clothes, everything we have comes from other people, the work of other beings, which we cannot actually completely say thank you for. Even if we pay for it, they've given their life for something. People have given their energy and their life for something that we have. And really, there's no real exchange. It's people's life, Like our giving and receiving. We're giving our life. We're giving our heart, our time, everything. Everything that we use, everything that we have, comes from the offering of other beings. The plants we eat, they've offered their lives for us. Or eggs, or milk, The things we wear, some sheep has been robbed of its clothing, or, some plants have been picked and dug up, and whatever they do to make cloth, plastic. Everything we have is given by somebody else. Even if we would grow our own food, the seeds come from somewhere else. We didn't think them up, So everything comes from something else. The air we breathe has been breathed millions and billions of times by other beings. Our amoebic ancestors were breathing our air a long time ago. I kind of like this, The water we drink, being used, recycled millions and billions of times. Don't think about it too much. We're all made of we're all made of the same stuff. We're all made of the same kinds of atoms and nuclei and all that, quarks and all those things, whatever they are. But all essentially the same stuff. I love this. People, asteroids, animals, plants, plastic, oceans, metal, rocks, everything is made of the same stuff, which is just great. Because actually we're not separate at all, we just think we are. We're constantly ingesting microbes from other beings, apart from anything else. It's all constantly going in and out, No actual real walls at all. So our fish tank starts to look a bit thin. And of course there isn't a fish tank at all, we just think there's a fish tank. It's a mental fish tank in our little mind. We're not in any way separate from other beings or other things. We just think we are. And we're in no way separate from that great ocean of Buddha nature, the waveless sea. We just think we are. Well, as Buddhists, a large part of our practice is aimed at dissolving the walls of our fish tank. You may not have thought of it quite this way before, but seeing this tank is not the reality. It's just a mental fish tank. Dissolving those walls between ourselves and other beings and other things, other worlds, dissolving the walls that seem to separate us from our true nature, Buddha nature. And although there are no walls, we still need to train ourselves to see that. We have to train in order to see that actually there aren't any walls between us and other beings or between us and our true nature. It couldn't be so. When we meditate, we can tend to think that our Buddha nature is something we've got to get to, something we've got to look for, something somewhere else. And in fact, we don't have to go anywhere or look for anything, actually. We just have to sit there. Just really sit there, sit here, and be content just to sit here. Not thinking we're missing something, that there's something somewhere else we have to get to. We should be doing something else. We should be doing something more profound and more spiritual than just simply being here. It can't be this simple. Apparently it's this simple. And that's really hard to fathom, actually. But it's true. Just to sit here completely here and not be thinking we should be somewhere else. We should be something else. We should be more spiritual. We should be doing something different from what we're doing. That's so tempting, just to be thinking, I should be doing something. I'm not, this isn't, just to actually sit here. That's all. Not easy, of course. Simply sitting there in the body as best we can, as deeply and as still as we can. And again, deeply doesn't mean somewhere else. It just means wholeheartedly here, deeply here, not somewhere else, not something else, not some special state of mind we're trying to get to. Some special state of mind falls upon us, fine, but we're not looking for it, and we're not very good at states of mind, actually. Trusting that this is where we need to be, and this is what we need to do, as faithfully and trustingly as we can, just to open ourselves to just being here, right here, in this body, with this mind, and whatever we have within it. This is it. This is where we need to be. This is what we need to be doing. We don't have to be doing something else that we don't yet know about, And this is how we dissolve the walls of our fish tank. There's no separation between us and our true nature. No separation between us and other beings. We just have to trust that and live by that. Because thinking we're separate from Buddha nature and thinking we're separate from other people are kind of the same thing. They work together. It's all the same thing. This separation from other people, or seeming separation. Well, a lot of the time, living in this world, we have to behave as though this were so. We can't, fling ourselves upon somebody in the elevator and sob out our life story to them, or, throw ourselves at somebody in the supermarket and ask them about their children, someone you've never seen before. People would think we were crazy and they'd lock us up. Or at least they'd run away thinking we want, wouldn't work. So we have to live in the world as though we were in a fish tank, to some extent. But we don't have to really think we're in a fish tank. We just need to we have to behave ourselves, essentially. We have to live by those boundaries, otherwise we'd be a menace to ourselves and others. We do need that buffer, and so do other people, actually. We do need something, because, especially living in this city, which I don't, of course, but you've got these people all around, and some of them are not terribly friendly, because they don't know that fish tank is not real. They think other people are a threat, or that other people want something from them, and so on. But to think and speak and act from a place of separation, we don't really have to do that. Sometimes we have to act with skillful means. And yes, we don't have to have deep, meaningful conversations with everybody we meet, otherwise we'd never get anywhere. But we do need to function, and yet not seeing people as really other. To work at dissolving those walls, those fish tank walls, to know that they are not real, and to think of people at least as though they were just like us, which of course they are, To have a sympathetic heart towards other people, and sympathetic speech towards other people, and a sympathetic way of behaving with them. Doesn't have to be overly cozy, but just that kindness that we can offer to other beings and ourselves, Remembering that actually they're basically just like us, just trying to live their life in this world and do their best, even when it looks not so good. It's sometimes terrible. People are still, I think, fundamentally trying to just do the best they can with what they've got. when you have a difficult encounter with somebody, I'm always saying this, to try to see things from their point of view, or at least respect them as a person, with feelings and problems and a life like us. Whether they're a complete stranger or someone we've known all our lives, to sympathize, to act with a kind heart. And as we treat other beings, so we treat ourselves, so we treat our true nature. As I said, it all works together. When we're unkind or unfeeling towards another person, we're being unkind to ourselves and we become unhappy. We don't like that. We might try to justify it, but actually we know this is not what we want to be doing. It's painful to be unkind, unfeeling, thoughtless to somebody else. When you do that, we kind of put a little extra film on those fish tank walls, like we solidify them a little bit. But we can still dissolve them again. We can still keep working at dissolving those walls. We're not going to do it perfectly, but to keep doing our best. And then when we mess up, just, contrition. Oh, I'm sorry. If we can say sorry to the person or make some kind of amends, great. If we can't, we try to make amends with ourselves, to actually forgive ourselves for messing up. Because actually, we do want to do our best. We do want to practice kindness. Sometimes we get scared, sometimes we get confused, sometimes we misunderstand something, sometimes we get angry, but to do our best to keep on dissolving those walls and to act from that place of sympathy and kindness. Never giving up, just keep on doing our best. Our offering ceremony, that giving and receiving, through those, we're not even through wars, because there are no wars, just a giving and receiving, not being somebody, just here's a person receiving, here's a person passing it on, another thing, receive it, pass it on. Just like life, everything comes to us and we pass it on. We can't hold on to anything. Everything kind of comes through us, whether it's the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the things that come our way, the people we love, the events that happen in our lives, for good or ill, they all just come like a gift. We receive it, we use it for a little bit maybe, we pass it on. It doesn't stay. And the kindness and generosity that comes through in all those things we sing, the four wisdoms, charity, tenderness, benevolence, and sympathy. It's no accident that they are like the awakening to the mind of the Bodhisattva, and they are part of our offering ceremony, because it's all the same thing, that giving and receiving of generosity, sympathy, kindness is all the same. Receiving and giving, receiving kindness, giving kindness, even when we receive a not so kind thing, to try to give kindness in return as best we can, knowing we're not perfect. We're all sharing in the merit of everything that everybody offers to us, everything that we offer to other beings, whether in our ceremony, whether in our life. We're constantly sharing in the merit that fills the universe. And this whole ceremony we do is a huge transfer of merit ceremony. We do a transfer of merit ceremony quite often, but this is like a really big one. And we're offering all that merit to other beings. We're not keeping any. We're just offering it all to other beings. It's very, very nice. Generosity and kindness are very potent wall solvents. They help us to dissolve our fish tank walls. Generosity and kindness. If we feel there's a wall there, we're reaching through it with a gift or with kindness. We're reaching through it to receive kindness or to receive something. But of course there isn't a wall there. We just think there is. But the more we give and receive, the more we see that those walls are not really there at all. As we practice generosity, kindness, tenderness, benevolence, sympathy, and all that, more and more we know that there are no fish tanks. We are not in a fish tank, neither actually is anybody else, no matter what it looks like. There are no fish tanks. We are all actually part of that waveless sea, swimming within the waveless sea, but actually completely part of it, just like the fish, breathing the water in and out. No separate beings, there's just the waveless sea. and we are all swimming as we best can together within it. And thank you. Thank you for all your kindness to us. Words cannot thank you enough. Thank you.